Hello, my handstand friend, and welcome to the first video of 21 videos that I am hand delivering directly to your inbox over the course of the next 21 days. My name's Kyle Weger, and I'm an international handstand coach. I specialize in working with adult beginners, meaning people who are learning handstand as an adult. I did not have a gymnastics background as a kid. I didn't start doing yoga until I was around 28. Started doing gymnastics in my 30s and then got into circus and hand balancing in my mid to late 30s. So I did not grow up knowing how to do this. So if you're in that boat, I am definitely the coach for you because I remember learning not so long ago what that learning curve was like and how frustrating it can be. And then how everything kind of switched for me once I took coaching and guidance from people who actually knew what they were doing. I trained with gymnasts, I trained with Cirque du Soleil hand balance artists, and I've kind of dialed all that down into a way that's consumable. So I want to give you these 21 drills for free because I understand the importance of consistency, coaching, accountability, taking guidance, and getting a routine. So over the next 21 days, your inbox is going to have a little surprise in there every single day, hopefully to inspire you to keep practicing, to get upside down, to try some new drills, and to think about your handstand in a different way. So that being said, let's get started. Today's drill is all about one of the most overlooked aspects of handstand, but it is arguably the most important, and that is hand placement. Where I put my hands is going to determine the angle of my arm. And if we take that one level deeper, the position of my fingers is going to determine the position of my hand, which is going to determine the angle of my arm. So, a couple of key notes here. Don't want you going super wide. I know in your head you might think a wider base is a more stable structure, but our skeleton responds really well to stacking. So, we're going to try to handstand with our skeleton. Here's why: bones do not fatigue, muscles fatigue. Let me say that again. Your skeleton doesn't get tired. Your muscles get tired and then you think you have to stop. But if you had a stronger structure, a more stable position, you would use more bone and less muscle. So what does that look like in a handstand? Well, it all has to do with where we put our hands. I like mine in this position where I have my index finger down on both hands and then the rest of the fingers spread out from there. And this for me is my comfortable position. For you, I don't mind if you're middle fingers are forward, or if your index fingers are forward. What I want to avoid is internal rotation like this because it will eventually cause a little bit of discomfort in your trapezius. So hands at this relative distance, or maybe an inch wider, inch and a half wider, whatever that is. We just want to avoid super duper wide or super duper narrow or internally rotated. So we're going to get in this general position and I want you to memorize what this looks like. I have students that will actually do the following. They'll take chalk and they'll chalk up their hands at their little training area or their garage and they'll put their hands down and it gives them a target. I have other students that use handstand boards and they take a Sharpie marker and they draw around their perfect hand placement. For today's video, no need to do all that. What I want you to do is just use your eyeballs. So we are going to get into our hand position that we like, the position that we just had on the floor. We're going to sit out, pull the hands off, keep the visual, put the hands on. Okay, that's one. We're going to do 2 sets of 10. Here we go. Two. We're just teaching the body that every time our hands go down, they are landing in the same spot. I think that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Got one more set here on the ground, and then we're going to flip this a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So why is this important? Well, if you look at, I like to use NBA players or WNBA players. Let's use like Caitlin Clark. When she shoots a jump shot, it's the same mechanics every single time because she's done that jump shot millions of times in practice. So her feet get set, the ball gets to a certain position, the elbow extends in a certain way, and she follows through. It's a mechanical process that just gets repeated. It's essentially a carbon copy of every other jump shot that she's ever done. So if we want to create consistency in your handstand, it's important that we put the hands on the ground in the same way. Set number 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3. This is a really good warm up for your wrist, by the way. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so why is it important that we land in the same spot every time or relatively, close to the same spot every time? You want your body to respond to this stimulus. It gets used to doing a certain thing. if we're doing this, and then next time we're here, and then next time we're a little turned out, your body's kind of responding to a different stimulus every time, and it has to figure out a new point to balance. We want, again, to create carbon copies. Every time you handstand, it's going to look like the handstand before, hopefully a little bit better as you progress with me through this program. But we are just installing the habits. So no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm kicking up to go through a straddle tuck scissor sequence, or if I'm kicking up to eventually shift over to do one arm sequences, my entry every single time is the exact same. All right, so let's talk about hand placement and how to take this upside down. All right, handstander. So we're going to take this idea of hands landing on the ground in the same spot every time. That's step one. Step two is another part to this drill that I call 10 to 20% kick-ins. So I want you to imagine a spectrum of handstand. This is 0% handstand. I'm just standing on my feet. And on the other end of that spectrum would be a completely stacked upside down handstand with all the weight directly standing on top of me. That's the 100. So it would stand to reason that if I want to get to 100, if I want a clean, stacked, straight line, I should be able to master 10, 15, or 20% of what that full range looks like before I get to the 100%. So it looks a little bit like this. We're taking that same idea of hands down. I got my visual, I know where they're going. And then, I don't know, what does 10% of a handstand look like? Maybe it's this. Maybe it's just lifting a little bit. I'm pouring a little bit of weight into the hands. And by the way, these 10 to 20% kick ins, this is an excellent warm up for all of the subsequent videos I'm going to send you. So when it comes time to open your daily email from Kyle, feel free to knock out a couple of these. It's a great way to progressively pour weight into the hands. We're going to do sets of 5, and I'll do them right here with you. 10%, maybe even 5% of a handstand. I want you to be able to control from here to here and all the way back down. I would rather have a student do this over and over and over than someone who kicks up wildly and gets even what they consider a little more hang time, but they're never in control of it. So here we go. First set of 5. Follow along. Chest goes down. It follows my hands, okay? I'm looking where I'm going. We got that same hand placement, and I just kick. 1. Nice warm up for everything else you're going to do. 2, and it also installs the movement pattern. 3. I'm not getting upside down. I'm not even concerned for with doing a full handstand right now. I am just putting in the movement pattern. That's 5. We're going to do 2 more sets of that, take a little break. So I'm not trying to get a beautifully stacked handstand. You may have heard me say this in the welcome video. The goal of the drills is not to do a handstand. The goal of the drills is to do the drills, because I know if I continually put my hands down in the same spot, I lift up and I set myself down with control. I know that is a foundation that I can add to, versus what I call the kick and pray method, where you kick up super wild, super, super wild. You never have any control, and then you come crashing back down. Okay, we're adding on here. I want you to think of foot lifts, the add on. If you can do it, I want you to see if you can set your foot down without making a sound. So I shouldn't be able to hear, right? Even if we lift up just a little bit, just a little bit. That's 3. I am trying to put weight in my hands and then come out. Even if it's just a baby hop like this, that is fine. That's 4, and I believe this is 5, okay? So we'll do one more set together, but I want you to start using this as your warm-up. Stretch out your wrists and everything before you hop on with me, and then give yourself 5. Give yourself 10 little kick-ins. What is magic about this drill is that 10% turns to 20, you catch a little hang time, and then 20 turns into like 50 and you're in an L position. And before you know it, you've been systematically rocking into this position so many times that your body starts to adapt and change. All right, last set for first handstand drill of the day. Look where you're going. Hands leading towards their spot. Chest following the hands. 1, 2, just little baby kicks. 3, 4, and 5. So nowhere in that whole experience was I trying to even balance a handstand. I was pouring a little bit of weight into my hands. I was coming out. I was doing it again. Think of this carbon copy. We are cut pasting the movement of handstand into your body doing this. All right, let's end today's training with just a little bit of a demo on how the progressions work. So I want you to think that folding forward, hands on the ground, this can turn into this, which can turn into that, which can eventually turn into that. Nice, straight, strong position. So you don't just get to do this one without having control of the entire range. And it all starts with understanding 10%, 20%, 30, 50, and so on. So I hope that was helpful and that you can see the path of doing small drills and doing them with integrity and attention. It's one of my favorite phrases. Anyone who can do an advanced skill is brilliant at the basics. And that is my hope for you. I want you to become brilliant at doing basic things when it comes to your handstand. For today, for example, we got intentional on putting our hands down. How do we kick up? How do we lift? How do we land? All right, that is it for today, my friend. Make sure you check your email. We'll see you upside down.